Becky, you can hear us, right? Give us a thumbs up if you can. Perfect. Okay. We're going to go ahead and start. We've got a quorum present in the council chamber, so we can work through it, and we're going to roll call vote since we have Becky on WebEx. Welcome everyone with a quorum of members present and the posted time having arrived. I'll call the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting for Monday, October 19th, 2020 to order. The first item of business is the minutes of our previous meeting from 9/21 of 2020. Any corrections or revisions needed to the minutes? If not, a motion to approve would be appropriate. Motion by Peckham. Is there a second? Second by Herbst. We'll roll call vote. Wadinsky? Aye. Peckham? Aye. Herbst? Aye. McElhaney? McElhaney votes aye, and I'll vote aye as well. Minutes are approved unanimously. Item number 2 is to consider approval or denial of various license applications. There are no recommended denials or events for this month. With that, a motion to accept or deny licenses as recommended by staff would be appropriate. Motion by Herbst. Is there a second? Second by Wadinsky. Further discussion or questions on the applications? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. Herbst? McElhaney? McElhaney? Give us the thumbs up if you're in favor. Yep, she's working on it. Wadinsky?
Aye.
Peckham?
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well. License applications then are approved. Item number 3 is discussion and possible action regarding an ordinance amending section 9.04.025, consumption or possession of intoxicants on streets.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Becky cannot hear us any longer.
Becky cannot hear us?
No.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna keep plugging away here because we've got a quorum present. Let's see here. So we're up to item number 4. Let me bring up the packet on my other screen here. Okay, and this item, you've got a memo in your packets from the Assistant City Attorney indicating that this ordinance is clarifying open intoxicants on streets and in public-owned parking lots that is permitted when there's an event permit issued by us, but as a general rule, it is not permitted. So there was some confusion as to what is acceptable where, and this should clear that up. Does anyone have questions for Tara on this item at all? If not, is there a motion to approve the clarification? Motion by Wadinsky, second by Peckham. Herbst?
Aye.
Wadinsky? Aye. Peckham?
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well. All right, and let's see here. We won't record votes from Becky until we can get her audio because we can't see her either. So. She's going to call in? Okay. Yep, so when she calls in, then we'll...
No.
Yep, when she calls in, she should pop up when she calls in on the WebEx. So then at that point, we'll record her votes, and then she can hear our audio as well. Let's see here. So item number 5 is, let's see. Okay, we're up to item number 4, discussion of possible action regarding ordinance amending temporary ordinance section 5.09.010, purpose and intent, 5.90.040, temporary amendment of licensed premises, and section 5.90.060, temporary outdoor operation for bars and taverns to extend all expiration dates until December 31st of 2020. As you recall, we had opened up some provisions to allow dining in the street and Thursdays on 3rd, and some pop-up events downtown, which would allow our downtown restaurant owners to serve outside at their dining tables, including outdoor service of alcohol as long as the environment was controlled. We've extended that provision once already to give them a little longer season. That was to get us to the end of October, but we're coming to the end of that already. And so with that, at least one of the establishments has added patio heaters to the sidewalk out there, and they're still able to use those spaces. And so with that, if we were to extend this expiration date to 12/31 of 2020, recognizing they may not use it much through the winter, but this would still give them the ability, if the weather holds or turns back to a more fall-like temperature, they could still use that outside provision that we had given them to get through the summer and the fall. Does anyone have questions for Tara on this item? It really is just changing the dates. Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve? Motion by Wadinsky, second by Peckham. Okay, and we have a call-in user. Is that Becky calling in?
It is, but we still can't hear.
Okay. Yep, we still can't, still no audio from Becky or video. Okay, then we're going to vote with the quorum that we have. Herbst?
Aye.
Wadinsky? Peckham? I'll vote aye as well. That motion will pass then 4-0. Item number 5 is the operations report from the fire department for September 2020. Last I checked, we did not have audio yet from Deputy Chief Bartek, even though he's on WebEx. You've got a copy of that fire department report in the packets. I think if we have questions or notable events that we want to discuss with him on the report, we could hold that discussion for our next meeting. Otherwise, if there's no items that you want to discuss on the report, we can agree to place that report on file. Okay? Seeing consensus from the committee there. We won't have any discussion then on item 5. Item 6 is tavern activities, compliance checks, and law enforcement activities. You've got that report in your packets as well. And we have the police chief with us in person tonight if you have questions on that report for him. Pat, go ahead.
This is just a little bit of quasi-humor, I guess. The section with aftershock, they're talking about loud music, and it says divorce was Thursday. And the chief explained to me that he's using a voice-to-text program, and it probably was intended to say the worst is Thursday.
I would imagine so. I would imagine so.
So anyway, there was another little oddity in there, but I think overall, I guess the only question I would have for the chief is if he's seeing anything. Some of these calls seem a little extreme compared to what we're normally seeing, and I wonder if the chief had any observations of whether the report reflected any COVID fatigue or anything related to our current medical dilemmas.
I don't know if I could give you any factual information. Yeah, maybe that's the case, I guess. I think we know that, these incidents ebb and flow throughout the year, and I think that we saw some of that in this report. There were a couple of larger fights, and it's been a while since we've seen demerit points being recommended, so we saw that from a couple of different places here that I think are definitely appropriate, especially Campus Pub and what it looked like the severity of that incident. So.
I guess I would just note on the report with regard to aftershock, I've received a couple of neighborhood complaints as well for activity there. That bar, that building has historically been a bar for a long time. And so with the change of ownership, when that bar changed over to aftershock from Baker's Retreat, there has been an uptick in complaints from the surrounding neighbors. The immediately adjacent neighbor's family at one point owned that building and ran it as a bar. So they have a tolerance for that type of behavior, and they even are disrupted often by the conduct of the people outside the bar. So I'm glad to see that we're doing some stepped up surveillance there as far as what's going on, having the sector officer watch that, because I've had at least 4 complaints about that since summer.
Yeah, and I think
So-
the extra patrols are important, and also they've met with the owner.
Yeah.
And talked to the owner about things that they would like the owner to do to try to mitigate some of that behavior. So, and the owner seems receptive and has tried to implement some things to try to reduce some of that loud noise and the urination outside and those kinds of things, so.
Yep, she is receptive, but even when the neighbors have talked to her, but she's not always on the premises. In fact, she's often not on the premises, and that's when things get out of hand, so. That and Campus Pub, reading what happened there, before we get them to a point where they're inching up on 100, do you think there'd be value in you reaching out to them and having a conversation with the owner?
I can.
I think that would be important. We've not had trouble with them at this level before, and
Correct.
this is just not typical of what we see from, we've been watching behavior at bars for years, and they are not normally on the list like this. So just in case something is changing.
Sure. Yeah, I can reach out to him.
Okay. Committee members, anything else for the chief? If not, we'll place that report on file as well. Okay, I think we're good on that item. And that was the last item on our report, or on our agenda for tonight. Item 7 is communications. I have none. Does anybody else have any communications? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Wadinsky, is there a second? Second by Herbst. Members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We'll stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.